Okay, it's Wednesday, January 12th. It's about 10:30 in the morning, so I wanted to do a midday TQQQ update, show you kind of what's developing on the charts from a strat perspective, looking at the various time frames, and then kind of looking intraday to see what the opportunities were today, the way I see it and the way I look at the 15-minute chart. So first of all, this is the daily chart of the QQQs. We know we had the big reversal day Monday. We then had the great 2 down, 2 up buy yesterday, so that was green and plenty of opportunities to make money on the long side. Then today was a little tricky because we were gapping up. I'll show you. This is the white bars here where you can see pre-market we were gapping higher, so you're potentially going to have exhaustion risk. I mean, sometimes you can get like 5-6 green days in a row up, but it's a little tricky when you gap up and then you knowing that you could be pausing. And also I'll show you in general that we're in overall time frame conflict on a bunch of levels as well. So and I'll show you why that set up a decent short trade opportunity in the morning. And where things stand now. But in general, let's look at the conflict. So obviously, like I said, this is now, it looks like after 2 days up, we're pausing a little bit. We're still above the midpoint of yesterday. So even though we have a down move going on so far in the morning, it's nothing to panic about. If we look at the weekly chart, let's look at that. We see that we have broadened to the downside. We are reversing to the upside. And here's the open of that bar. This is back on Monday. So as long as we stay above the open for the next 2 days, we're still in good shape. You can see here, we're just kind of pulling back a little bit on the daily maybe, but until we stay, as long as we stay above the open, then it's still a green bar. We might be actually getting a 2 up green bar into next week. That could broaden all the way to the top. So we'll have to see. But on the monthly chart, we're still a little bit in the red, and until we break the open of the month. The month started here. We went lower. We're trying to reverse up and completely erase that, but we still have the open right up here, at the 168 area, let's say. So this month, until we really break above the open, this is still looking down, red. The time frame is saying sell on this month, and maybe we'll close the month somewhere in here and then start green next month. So we have to wait a few weeks to see. So in other words, that's the conflict. We're in red on the monthly bar, we're green on the weekly bar, and then so far today, we're red on the daily bar. So what does that all mean? If you look at today, what the opportunities would have been the way I see it, if you were trading this, first of all, you have the up, we're in the up mode in the short term. So you got to think, we're above the midpoint of yesterday. Let's look at that again. We're above the close of yesterday, which is the yellow line because we're gapping up. So you got to be thinking long in terms of, all right, maybe even though we're gapping up, we're just going to really have a strong opening. So what happened was 15-minute bar, first one, did nothing. So it's not like you're buying a break out of that bar to the upside. It's kind of a red bar, but it's a little neutral. Then we get an inside bar on the second bar, and that right there is technically like an inside bar buy to at least take out this first bar high, and that happened. So you reached your target, okay? And then at that point you want to see another green bar. If you're really going to somehow gap up and just go all day long, and this is going to be 3 big green days in a row, that's what you would have looked for. But you had to be very aware that this was a potential exhaustion as well. And if you're not going to follow through above that first bar, you want it to happen on the second bar. And if you're going to have it starting on the third, you really want to see it go. And what happened was, and this was the great trade opportunity, it paused here inside bar number 4, and that's like a 2-1, and then boom, the reversal short right there. So actually, this was a good short in my opinion, given all the conflict in play, given the exhaustion move up potentially on the day, and the fact that price action wasn't following through above that first 15-minute bar with a great signal here to try a short. You have very little risk in case you're wrong. You can see, you can get right out here if price did head higher, and as it turned out, we really collapsed. Now, to me, the target was the first intraday low, which it hit, and then just knowing the way I look at things, we definitely moved down to this close of yesterday, the yellow line, and you can see here, that's a bounce area. I actually when I look at other trades from time to time that I want to get long on, but it comes all the way down, I really expect price to bounce here at the close, given that we're still above the midpoint of yesterday, everything. And that's what's happening here. So it's interesting. I wouldn't play the bounce trade if you got like a strat signal of some kind in here. You can see we got an inside bar here so far, and this is now the, this could be technically a 2-1-2 back up at the moment. I think this is the high of the day, because the high or low of the day usually forms early in the session, and given the price action, you can sense this is going to be the high of the day now. So any little buy signal here will probably come up a little bit, it'll reach the magnitude of that bar before, and then I can sense it pausing in here, just given the fact that's going to be the high of the day most probably. And really the only other trade now, this was the best. Again, there was a long trade here to try, but just immediately break even or scale, if it didn't follow through. The short trade was a very good trade. Now I wouldn't take this long trade at all. If you do, I think it might only reach that magnitude. That's happening right now. We'll see. I mean, I can come back to it later. What could develop here is another good short setup here on the strat. If we kind of just rally back up, a little bit higher, and then we come down to test these lows again. And then if you look at the daily chart, we might have a target here to the middle of yesterday's range. Maybe, one more push down is what I can see developing here before the day's over. But, it's tricky because you kind of have an overall uptrend on the daily chart, but you did start down on the day, and so maybe you can get one more. The key is, are you going to test this low one more time? So I'd look for any kind of setup. If you want to wait and it rolls over and then you get some short-term time frame setup to just scalp it to break the low, that'll probably happen. If we start coming down here, I think these lows will be taken out at least one more time, but I don't necessarily expect much follow-through. So that's kind of the bigger picture, daily chart, weekly chart, the conflict involved, what kind of developed on the intraday time frame in terms of opportunities today, and we'll have to see what happens, and how the price closes today on the daily chart, and then what to expect for tomorrow.